here's the thing. Like, if you want to be a Grinch, that's fine. But why on anybody's hat? Like, if that brings that person joy, like, you don't have to be a part of it.
No, like
Hold your non-Christmas heart for as long as you want. I'm gonna live in Christmas because it makes me happy. God damn it!
Exactly. Like there's sometimes like even like during the year, like if there's like days where I'm a little more bummed out, like you know what, I'm gonna wear my Grinch underwear just because it makes me feel happy.
And nothing but my Grinch underwear, so everybody knows what kind of a mood I'm in.
And I've got multiple pairs.
And I don't care if I get kicked out of that Panera again.
They don't know how I feel that day, damn it.
That got specific.
It was on the news, it's a thing.
Yeah. I have no regrets.
But no, I've been in the Christmas spirit too, and then, watching Miracle on 34th Street definitely helped with that, and I've wanted to go back and rewatch some of the Christmas movies that I've only seen once or haven't seen before this year, like Confession Time. I've only seen Elf the one time when it first came out.
So good. One of the points that I have a small handful of these moments where in watching a movie I laugh hard. One of my top 3 laughs of all time. One of them we discussed in Just Friends. And it's oddly, though I'm not particularly into physical comedy, these all seem to be physical comedy bits.
Physical comedy, when it works, it really works for
yes. Yeah. So in Just Friends, there's a part where he sleds down and it flips over and his body tied to the sled slides across the ice that I love. In Elf, it's when, and so much of the magic of this bit is how they frame the shot. It's one shot. It's on the little brother dealing with Christmas lights or something in the foreground. You can see the big Christmas tree that they cut down in Central Park in the background. And he's kind of thinking to himself, how are we going to get the star up on the tree? And he never looks away. He's still in contemplation doing these lights. But he's like, I got it. And he grabs the star and goes off camera. And he's still in the foreground doing the lights. And then Buddy comes running up, jumps onto the couch like a trampoline, flies up into the tree, nowhere near the top, hugs it, and then the whole tree falls backwards onto him. And I mean, kudos to the cinematographer and the director and the actors. Like, it wasn't, what made it so funny wasn't just that he jumped into the tree. It was the framing, the way that how, I can't think of the character's name, but his little stepbrother, or half-brother, I guess. How he doesn't, how he responds to it by not really responding at all. He's just off it. Like, there's so much to making that bit work, and that is one of those like top 3 laughs that I've had in my entire life.
Yeah, well, first time I saw Elf, like I'll be the first to admit I didn't like it a whole lot. I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't huge into Will Ferrell's style of comedy at the time.
Okay.
But like, I know it's got such a love for that film that like, you know what? That's my film I'm going to rediscover this year.
Ooh.
And like, it's funny. Another film that like I rediscovered. Well, that was weird. A film I rediscovered like a year's.
I have the camera in such a place that it's filming mostly my back, so I'm trying to turn out to the audience a little bit more so they can see me.
A film that it's funny. This is gonna be weird for you, but like a film that I rediscovered, it was either last year or the year before, was actually The Christmas Story.
Oh,
hear me out. It's a movie that I watch every year, but I never really pay much attention to it.
You know what? Confession time. I was going to say almost the same thing about Miracle on 34th Street today.
Yeah, it's like, so I rediscovered The Christmas Story and was kind of amazed by like how good of a movie it actually is. Because it's a movie that like usually it's on in the background, it's playing all day at Christmas. But something clicked with me. I was like, well, Bob Clark directed this movie, and we talked about one of Bob Clark's other films on episode 2, which is Black Christmas.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I want to just rediscover. I want to sit down and actually watch this movie with a critic, and It's funny, like even a couple years ago, I rediscovered Christmas Vacation, a movie that I watch every year. But it wasn't until I got it on Blu-ray that I realized, oh wow, this movie's actually really well shot. It's all these things I didn't notice when I usually see it on TV, and I'm gonna get on my high horse, and that's why I believe that you should watch things. You should buy a copy of something and watch it. But
so something that I keep forgetting about every time I watch them. And this is both Home Alone and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, is they were both written by John Hughes.
Yes.
Which always, and then Christmas Vacation is produced by Frank Capra III.
Which is so
also,
funny.
Yeah.
When
you think of John Hughes, like, there are all these little tangents to his career that...
I know, like you think of him as one type of filmmaker, but then
Brat Pack.
You see about all the other types of films he's written. Like even a couple years ago, that movie Drill Bit Taylor was written. It was an old unproduced John Hughes script.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I never saw it, but I had no idea that it had that connection.
And then like Chris Columbus directed Home Alone, and he wrote Gremlins. It's like,
right.
What is with this world? What is this world that we live in?
I'm responsible for 19 of the 20 top grossing films of all time.
19?
Yeah, the one about the kid by himself in his house, burglars trying to come in and he fights them off. I had nothing to do with that one. Somebody sold their soul to Satan to get the grosses up on that piece of...
It's funny, but then they also have the John Hughes line in that movie when they're trying to find Shermer, Illinois, so they can go sell weed to all those uppity rich guys.
Warning! This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shamelist Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Shamelist Picture Show. I am Michael Vyers, and with me, as always, is a man who's got to do something to keep warm.
Nick Richards!
I forgot about that line until you mentioned it, honestly.
I love how he repeats it. Like, everybody that comes up to him, oh, the man's got to do something to keep warm.
That Santa Claus's voice was not at all what I was expecting it to be. He did not sound like you imagine a Santa Claus to sound like. It's kind of great. But, because unless you did not read the description for this week's episode, we'll be discussing a classic Christmas film that's been on my shame list for ages, George Seaton's Miracle on 34th Street. Made in 1947 under the title The Big Heart, Miracle on 34th Street uses Macy's department store and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade as its backdrop. A man who looks a lot like Santa Claus, whom we only know as Kris Kringle, is wandering around New York set on finding the man who is to play Santa at the parade. Once he notices the imposter Santa is a drunk, Kringle finds the manager to the parade and insists he play the role instead. He does such a great job that Mr. Macy himself requests this man take on the role of Santa in their department store. As the film progresses, Kringle is adamant on spreading holiday cheer and showing that Christmas isn't just about commercialism and proving to a young girl that Santa Claus does in fact exist. Oh, and on top of all that, Santa is taken to court to prove that he has to prove to a court of law that he is in fact Santa Claus. Part heartwarming comedy, part courtroom drama, the film has its all. Miracle is considered one of the greatest films of all time and has consistently topped multiple AFI lists of greatest films ever made in multiple categories. The film stars Maureen O'Hara, Natalie Wood, John Payne, and Edmund Gwenn as Kris Kringle.
That's no good. Turn it off. Stop it. Turn it off. That won't work. It's no good. What do you make a trailer for? To give the public an idea of what kind of a picture to expect.
But, boss, we...
Hilarious, romantic, tender, exciting. Make up your minds. It can't be all of those things.
Mr. Schaefer, if you'd look at the picture...
I don't have to look at the picture. I know you're wrong. Tender, exciting. Why, they're practically opposites. You've got to decide what kind of a picture this is. Is it a romantic love story? Is it an exciting thriller? Is it a hilarious comedy? Make up your minds. Now go to work and fix it up. Hey, Rex. How are you?
Ed, how are you?
Good to see you. How's the ghost of Mrs. Muir?
It's pretty good, honey. How's New York?
Fine. Say, Rex, have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
Yes, saw the preview. I've never heard laughs like it in the theater before.
Oh, is that right?
Don't miss it. I was crazy about it.
You really think we've got something, huh?
I don't know whether the women will like it, but it's a great man's picture. Well, it's nice to see you, Ed. Gotta get back to work.
Yeah. See you later. Oh, Ann Baxter, good to
Hello,
see
Ed.
you.
How are you?
I haven't seen you since the Academy Awards. Congratulations on winning that Oscar.
Thanks, Ed, very much.
Oh, say, Ann.
Yeah.
Have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
Have I? Ed, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I understand it's a pretty good comedy.
Comedy? Well, I suppose that's true. I had a million laughs, but the thing that got me were the tears in between. It's so tender and charming and warm. I don't know how the men are going to like it. It's a great woman's picture.
Is that so?
Oh, there's one scene between John Payne and Maureen O'Hara where he's trying to prove... No, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You go and see it. I'm sorry, Mr. Schaefer. I'm just learning to drive.
So I see. How are you, Peggy Ann?
I'm fine now that I know I didn't hit you.
Tell me, have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
3 times, and it's simply groovy. Mr. Gwen's just wonderful. You know, we worked together in Bob's Son of Battle.
Yeah, I saw it. He's great in it.
Wait till you see him in this. You'll love him, and you'll love the picture, too. I tell you, it's a groovy movie. Don't you think so, Dick? Dick?
Yeah.
Dick Hames, I didn't see you.
Well, I've been on the floor. That sudden stop got me. Oh, but seriously, Peggy's right. That Miracle on 34th Street is really something. You know, with me, moving pictures have got to move. They've got to be exciting and different. And this thing is really it. It's the most unusual story that I've ever seen. In the last 20 minutes of the picture had me sitting on the edge of my seat every second of the time. And what a finish.
Yeah, maybe I ought to take a look at
Well,
it.
if you run it again, tell me about it. Okay, we're ready.
That is the greatest picture I have ever made. And I've got the angle on the trailer. Boys, we've got to get across to the public that that picture has everything. Why, it's hilarious. It's romantic. It's tender. It's charming. It's delightful. It's exciting. And it's groovy.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
That does it, boss.
Mr. Schaefer, you've got a great idea.
Naturally. Now, I'll tell you what we do.
I'm gonna correct one little thing on your description there. He did not insist on being the Santa Claus at the parade. She actually kind of strong-armed him into being.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're
Santa
right. You're
Claus
right
for the parade. He
You're
didn't
right.
want to. He's like, no, I'm not gonna fix your mistake. I'm not gonna cover
You know
for
what?
this drunken
Good
Santa.
point.
All right, but I can't let the kids down.
Scratch my description. Put that one in. We're good to go.
So again, this one's on your Shamelist. So what did you think?
I liked it a lot. It was surprisingly funny.
Yeah.
Which I like. Like, Edmund Gwenn himself is extremely amusing. Like, he's got so many quick-witted opinions. Like, later on in the film when they're in the courtroom and they're like, "Where do you live?" And he's like, "Well, that's what this court hearing is here to decide." And I was like, "Oh, he's funny. He's good."
And everybody's sitting in the court, like, just chuckling and writing. And I also, whenever he is, for lack of a better word, confronted about whether or not he is Santa Claus, he handles it with such charm, but also so lightly. He doesn't really, like, I loved when, God, what's her name? The mom.
Maureen O'Hara?
Yep. When she is confronting him about this while he's having a conversation with the little girl, and he's like answering her questions with confidence and joy, but also then immediately turning back to the kid to ask her what her teacher's name is. And like, it's just not a big deal to him. This is reality, and he knows
I bet you're in the second grade.
Right, and nobody believes him, but he's accepted that, but he still doesn't shy away from it. That charm is so valuable in this movie.
I love that at the beginning of the film, we don't know. I love that there's practically no real setup.
Yeah.
it just begins with him walking down the street. There's the story of the film kind of unfolds as we go along, and it's just got this nice meandering pace that's like, he doesn't even have a mission until he meets the little girl, and it's like, well, now this is what I need to do. And
that mission is, we spoke in our last episode, which was recorded like minutes ago, how, especially with Christmas films you've seen over and over again, films that you put on not just to sit down and watch like you do with many movies. A lot of Christmas movies you put on to have as like a cheerful setting as you're doing something else, decorating the tree, making cookies, wrapping presents. This was the first time, because the last time that I watched it closely was probably when I was a kid, when I wasn't looking for this kind of stuff. This was the first time that I really grabbed onto Kris Kringle's motivations, like what his mission was in this movie, because they don't dwell on it.
No,
it's kind of, it is not the main focus of what's happening in the story. So that really helped me like ground the Santa Claus character as a character in the movie, not just the object of everybody else's motivations.
He like, I get the feeling that, like, okay, he's decided that he's going to be Santa Claus and he wants kids to have a good Christmas, but then, like, once he meets Natalie Wood's character, who's the daughter, I don't remember, I think her name was Susan, something like that.
Susie sounds right. Yeah.
He realizes that, like, this is now his new mission, like, because here's a little girl, and Doris, Maureen O'Hara's character, she's a single mom who works all the time trying to make a good life for her kid, and you get the impression that she's done the best she can, but her daughter has grown up to be a very as a matter of fact type of person.
Very
and
pragmatic.
she doesn't have a lot of this childhood wonder that the rest of the kids have. And his whole thing is I feel like he doesn't necessarily care if the kid believes that he's Santa Claus. He just wants her to have a more normal childhood, to be able to go out and have fun and throw inhibition to the wind, and that's his goal.
And since you brought it up, something that I wanted to point out, and this seems like a good time to do it, how I'm amazed, based on when this was written and when this was made, how unapologetic or how irrelevant to the story it is that she is a divorced single mom with a powerful career, strong opinions on things, a strong personality, and it never becomes a plot point at all, which is fantastic. Like that you can barely find that kind of thing in today's films. And if it is, it's like billed as this feminist film. Like it's not mentioned. Nobody really even thinks about it that much. And it's great that she is the star of the film. I mean, maybe it's an ensemble cast to a certain extent, but she is certainly one of the front runners.
Yeah.
It's not this like scandalous thing that she's divorced. It's not scandalous that she is a working mom. It's not like it's never questioned, and I just really, really appreciated that.
No, I completely agree. Like actually, I don't have a whole lot more to add on to it. The one thing I will add on to it though is John Payne's character, who's the guy across the way. It annoyed the shit out of me. I have to say, like one, I think it's weird that this woman just allows like her daughter to have two grown men as her friends. Like I just think that's like when she was like, when her maid is like, oh, she's with the man across the way. I'm like, what? Why are you so okay with this? Because you don't get the feeling, like when their first bit of dialogue, you don't get the feeling that her and him are friends. That
they're aware of each other, that they had passed each other in the halls.
But I'm guessing they've never talked really, it seems. Yeah. And then it's even weirder too, like when the little girl is in on him trying to like hook up with her mom. Like, what is happening?
That was odd.
Yeah.
By today's standards, I don't know if back then like
I'd hope it'd be odd back then.
Yeah. Yes, I made that same observation this time around.
I also, maybe I'm digging too deep into this, but I'm wondering too if this film was also potentially commenting on mental disorders a little bit as well.
Oh no, absolutely. I think the treatment of people with perceived mental issues was a strong theme in this.
But like even so much so, like what was the name of the kid that Chris takes a liking to? The boy.
God, I had taken note of it, but it's not popping into my head.
But anyways, I mentioned him too because it just seems like I can't quite explain why I feel this way, but I get a vibe that he's potentially not the brightest crayon in the box, but he's just got this need that he wants to do something good. Like they never touch on it, they never make it seem, they never talk about if he's got any mental disorders, but I don't know. It kind of felt like he did.
Yeah.
And
I didn't necessarily get that impression. I thought he was normal, and certainly the store counselor isn't even the right word, but when Chris gets so upset that he's been treating him on the side, it spoke to that.
Yeah. But I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second.
Alfred.
Okay, yes.
Played by Alvin Greenman.
Yeah, like I said, I might be digging too much into it, but I definitely feel like Chris believed this kid still has the soul of a child.
Yeah, yep.
And that's one of the reasons he took to him so much. And yeah, one big thing I want to talk about, since it has become a whole thing in this movie where, like, is he really Kris Kringle? Is he not? Kind of reminded me of that episode of The Simpsons where Homer befriends a gentleman who he believes that he's Michael Jackson.
Oh, of course I've heard of you. I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know. What'd you say your name was?
Michael Jackson.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Well, have you heard of MTV?
Nope.
Motown?
No.
Beat It?
You beat it.
Thriller?
What was that last one?
Thriller?
Nope.
Well, how about this?
Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who says that I am the one. But the kid is not my son.
Wow. How do you do that thing with your feet?
The moonwalk?
No, that thing with your feet.
Here, look. Just raise your heel a bit and put a little pressure on the ball of your foot.
Huh?
Don't! You seem like a nice guy. Why'd they put you in here?
Because I wore a pink shirt.
I understand. People thought I was crazy for the way I dressed.
What'd you wear?
One white glove covered with rhinestones.
Yeah, yep.
And it really begs the question, and I want to ask your opinion. Do you believe that he was actually Santa Claus?
Do I believe that the movie believed that he was Santa Claus, or
Do you believe that the character was Santa Claus?
Yes, I do.
Because I did not.
You did not.
I did
Okay.
not think he was Santa Claus. And a couple of the little details that stuck out to me. So when they were looking at his record, so like when they hired him,
Yep.
and maybe it was a loss of judgment, a loss of paying attention at one point, but I believe it said that his residence was an elderly home.
Yes, and they bring in the operators of that elderly home.
Yes, and they are completely aware that he is a person that lives there. And while the guy believes that he is Santa Claus, he lives at this elderly home with the rest of the other people.
Yeah.
And that's what gave me the idea that he honestly does believe that he is Santa Claus, but I don't think he is actually the demigod that is Santa Claus.
And certainly the court case, all that determines is that the post office run by the federal government has acknowledged that he is Santa Claus.
Yes.
Like, it speaks to, and I also found it really interesting how much this film relies on the political corruption of our judicial system.
Yeah.
Because if that judge was not running for re-election, then he's found to be insane and not Santa Claus.
Yeah. Like there was little bits of like, what about Bob? I noticed in this movie too.
This is so scrumptious. Is this hand shucked?
Mm-hmm. Would you like some more chicken, Bob?
Mmm. Leo, do you want the breast?
No, that's fine. Eat up.
Great biscuits, huh, Bob?
Yeah. Great biscuits, great corn, great potatoes.
You want some more salad, Bob?
Yeah, I think I do. Pile it high and deep, will you please? Can you get that tomato off there, please? Thank you. Oh. Mmm. This is delicious.
Will you stop that, please?
Leo, I see salt and pepper. Is there a salt substitute?
I'll get it. And don't call me Leo.
But you said in your office that I could call you Leo.
That was in my office. In my home, I'd like you to call me Dr. Marvin.
Because like it handled it in a good way. Because my issue with movies that involve Santa Claus are, so let's use these Santa Claus as an example. So we've got Tim Allen as Santa Claus, and everyone's telling you, "Oh, Santa Claus isn't real. Santa Claus isn't real," but they can never explain where the presents come from.
Right. Yeah.
Like presents mysteriously show up, you should know Santa Claus is real, but yet they live in this world where whatever. This film did it really well, where I love that scene when the kid's like, I want a fire engine, I promise I won't use it outside, and he's that was
Cross
fantastic.
my heart.
And then the mom's like, Macy's ain't got it, no one's got it. And he's like, he's like, I wouldn't have said it if I didn't know it was true. I know he's gonna get it, and it's not like, oh, I'm Santa Claus, I'm gonna make sure he gets it. He's like, here's the store you can get it from. You can go buy it right now for this much money.
Right.
That kid will get that present. Where I love that, like, Santa Claus isn't this being who's bringing presents, but he's gonna like making sure that the kids are. I don't know. I thought that was handled in a very interesting way.
Yeah,
and it's also another reason why I don't think that Edmund Gwenn is actually Santa Claus. He's a man who believes he's Santa Claus.
Well, let me throw a little curveball at you based on how you built your argument.
Okay.
Now let's define what Santa Claus is or isn't. Because if there is a man ensuring that every kid has a magical Christmas by any means necessary, whether he's up at the North Pole manufacturing them, or if he is a human being who's going around ensuring that every kid has a happy Christmas, is he maybe still Santa Claus?
And I guess you make a good point, because then we are breaking down the idea of what is a Santa Claus.
Right.
The way I'm viewing it as is this is the Santa Claus that he is convincing that people believe to be Santa Claus, whereas he's got a mansion down in the North Pole, and he's got reindeers, he's got elves, he's probably got an amazing artillery that shoot candy canes. I just made all this up. So yes, I guess then if you're breaking it down of what is Santa Claus, I can't believe this is going to be coming out of my mouth. Santa Claus is a state of mind. And if that is the case, then yes, he is in fact Santa Claus. But that is not the way the movie is argued. Like, I don't know, I guess maybe that is the way the movie's arguing. So in that case, yes, he is Santa Claus, but is he the Santa Claus?
The Santa Claus. Also, I think I have been wrapped up in the magic of the film to the point of typically me asking whether or not he was a crazy old man or Santa Claus. That's right up my alley. Like, I should have been the one asking you that.
Yeah. When did I become the jaded one of this group?
But I never even thought to question it. I just assumed, because I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times, and I haven't closely watched it until this time since I was a kid. I think my assumptions that, well, he won the court case, so of course he's Santa Claus. Like, yeah. It went right by me.
And like, I love too that like the guy who doesn't own the old folks home, but the guy who's the representative from there.
Yeah.
Where he was like, oh, there's that one guy who believes he's the Prince of Russia, and he's a well-standing man in this community and everything. But then there's a kind of a great moment near the end too, where he's like, I don't remember his exact words, but he's like looking at like they're at the Christmas party, and he says something along the lines where he's like, I guess you really are Santa Claus, though I never doubted it. But yet, like, he's not this guy who's making toys year round and delivering them. So it's like you said, like, you have to set the definition of what Santa Claus is. Yeah. But going off of the mythical creature that is Santa Claus, I don't think he is that.
I really appreciated that the film never, even after at the end when they win the court case, they never show him in any kind of fantastical setting. They never even show, the only Santa suit that he wears is the mall suit that they got off of the drunk Santa.
I thought he said that he had his own Santa suit. He was using his own.
Well, I believe in the beginning he said that he did, but they still peel the suit off of the drunk one to put onto him. And from the looks of it, there was never that, like, now I have the real Santa suit, which is it was still like a straggly kind of cheap mall Santa suit.
Yeah.
There's never the reveal of even, like, let's say that they are saying that he is just a crazy old man. Like, if he is that into it, and he's saying that he has his own suit, why don't we ever see him in this elaborate Santa suit costume?
Yeah.
All we see is mall Santa, or a nice man with real whiskers and a black overcoat and bowler hat.
Yeah. One thing that I'm not too sure about, and I want to talk about the ending for the film. So Chris has them drive down this elaborate series of roads, which you live in New York and you're very obviously out of the city. Like, I'm surprised they're like, what the f*** is he taking us? They find Susie's house, dream house, that had the for sale sign on it, And Chris had mentioned, or the John Payne's character had mentioned earlier, that he wanted to get a house in Long Island and so on and so forth. And he takes him to this house, and they find a cane that looks like Chris's cane. And I'm just that ending. It's like, okay, so he took him down this road. They don't own this house. It's just a random house. And then John Payne's final line that he wasn't too sure if he was actually... I don't know. I'm just confused by the ending.
It is... first off, I'd like to point out that this movie, at its heart, is really a film about spoiling an already spoiled little girl. Like, oh, she found a house she likes. We better not let her down.
It's true, though. I also love, too, it's like, if you can't get me this house, you're just a kind man with whiskers.
Right.
I'm like, oh, is this the game we're playing, little girl?
and that setup is used in so many films. You already brought up Tim Allen's The Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Where that is the... I didn't get the one toy that I wanted, therefore I stopped believing. And that was like... I haven't heard that dynamic in the real world, and I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who stopped believing because they didn't get that toy.
Where's my Castle Grayskull, Santa?
Right! Like, this is bullshit. You must not exist. Like,
I'm glad I'm not the only one who picked up on the spoiled child aspect of this film.
But, yeah, the wording of his last line, that maybe I didn't do such a wonderful thing after all. I was very confused.
I know, because, like, are you saying, like, you did a bad thing by proving that this man is Santa Claus? It's like, are you saying that this old man broke into this person's house and left a cane? He's all going to murder you now? Like, what? Give me, like, 30 more seconds on this movie and explain what the fuck's happening.
My belief in what he's trying to communicate is one of two things. Either, and I don't know which one, I have no idea. Either he never really truly believed that it was Santa Claus, and in that moment he finally does. Or right. Or he did believe that it was Santa Claus, and in that moment he realizes that he was a crazy old man.
Maybe.
I honestly have no idea which, but I suspect that it's one of those two things.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to rewatch it again this season, but this is definitely a movie I want to rewatch and analyze a little bit more, because, like, this is going to take the magic out of this movie. But say it is the more sinister version, where this is just a crazy old... Sinister is the wrong word, but he's just a crazy old man. It completely changes this film. Maybe not completely, because it makes this young girl believe. And sometimes the hardest part about believing is convincing someone. Actually, there's a great line in this movie. Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
Yeah.
And in that case, say that he is just a crazy old man. He did make this little girl believe that magic is out there, and that's fantastic.
Right. And she was saying, Doris was saying that, like, I think to a certain extent, is less we need to believe that this is Santa Claus, and more we need to just believe in this person that we care about.
Mm-hmm.
And by not believing in him, we were dismissing him as a crazy old man rather than a person who cared about us and did things for us, and we need to believe in him as a person.
Yeah. But it definitely bears repeat watching. But what I might watch this year is I'm be curious to see how the remake handles this information. Have you seen the remake?
I have not.
I do know that George Attenborough plays Chris, and that's just like stellar casting.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
Dinosaurs. I'd be curious to see how that one handles it, because like just doing a quick like Google search, it seems like for people have said that the remake actually tackles some really heavy material.
Okay.
And I'd be really curious to see, what changes with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know. It's something I'm curious about now, and I know a good friend of my wife. Her name is Emma. She is. This is one of her favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And I've not gotten a chance to really talk to her about why, but I know she said it makes her cry every time. So like this movie definitely works on people, and I really love. I think it was a great movie. The one thing it didn't do though, and I'll be completely honest with saying this, it didn't. I think this is a great movie, but it didn't fill me full of the Christmas cheer that other movies did. And maybe part of it's because it's in black and white, and you're missing some of the color.
I watched the colorized version.
How is that? How is that?
I believe in the early 2000s they released a colorized version of it. I have a DVD set with both the black and white.
Damn you, Ted Turner.
Version. Yep.
Turner's new classics.
And it was beautiful. Like, it has that old, like, tinted coloration that I love the black and white version. I noticed more totally unimportant but background details in the colored version that I never would have in the black and white version.
Okay,
Things as silly as when they're waiting, when the lawyer took Susie to stand in line to meet Santa, and she's like, I don't see what's the point in this. I know it's just a nice man in a suit. There's another woman around the back of the line that you see through like a door or window or something, and she has this ridiculous kind of like How the Grinch Stole Christmas hat.
Yeah.
Things like that I was picking up on in the colorized version that I never would have in the black and white.
And that's great, because like part of what works for me with Christmas movies is part of it's like an oral thing where it's the sound, and there's not an overflux of Christmas music in this movie. There's some of it, obviously, but then it's also like Christmas movies have a very specific lighting style.
Yeah.
And
jingle bells, jingle bells.
So that's another reason I guess I'm curious to see the remake. But no, I really like this movie, and I think it's. I'd go as far as to say it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. One more discussion I'd like to bring up. So I think the heart of this movie is the dynamic between Chris, Susie, and Doris.
Okay.
That it's Chris's desire to prove to these two that Christmas is magical, and the pragmatism of Susie and Doris on how they deal with the world and Christmas as a whole.
Yeah.
And if you pick up from the point that Santa or Chris first gets that intelligence test to the point that the court case ends, and you lift that out of the movie, all of the core of that movie still holds true. I find it interesting that court case is so separate from the main bit of that narrative. It's I'd say it's a reflection of it. It's like that micro relationship being presented to the entire state of New York or the entire country or whatever. But even when on the last day of the trial, when he gets Susie's letter and he's reading it, and the lawyer's like, I'm so sorry, I don't have really anything more. And he's like, I don't care. I got this letter. Like, I don't care about the outcome of this court case. And you never get the impression that he does.
Yeah.
Like, Chris couldn't care less about whether or not the world believes he's Santa Claus or not. He doesn't care if he's going to spend the rest of his life in Bellevue. He got that letter.
Yeah.
So he won.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and just this big dramatic moment wasn't Chris's victory at all.
Like, I almost feel like if I would have directed this film, I would have had him lose the case, but that he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
It'd be a sadder ending, though.
Right. Nobody gets presents on Christmas morning. Then we would know that it is him.
That'd actually be kind of an interesting ending if like people woke up and there were no gifts.
Yeah. Well, the Rankin and Bass Year Without a Santa Claus kind of tackles that. Also, that Rankin and Bass Year Without a Santa Claus, you would have a hard time convincing me unless the years were inverted, but I'm sure they weren't. That Santa Claus wasn't modeled after the Miracle on 34th. The shape of the beard and the way that the cheeks and everything are modeled seems like that's what they're trying to capture. Anyway,
I could not find a copy of that movie anywhere.
Oh no! Life and Adventures of Santa Claus is the one that I.
Oh, but no, you're without Santa Claus. I have seen that one then.
Yeah, that's Snow Miser.
Yeah, that's great.
Heat Miser. Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. If you can track it down, I actually got it through. God, what's the company? I don't know if they're still offering this, but there was a list of films that one of the big companies had where you could just go on and say, I want a one-off copy of this film that isn't available on DVD.
I think it was Warner Archive.
Yeah. And they would like just burn you a copy of it. So I have a burned copy from them of The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, based on a story by Frank L. Baum that wrote The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
So
it was definitely Life and Adventures of Santa Claus from the Warner Archive. They're actually the only place you can get Phantom Tollbooth as well.
Yep. Those are the two that I bought through that.
Nestor, the long-eared donkey comes with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have Nessie, Nestor. Sorry. On like 4 different Christmas movie compilations.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got off track.
We always do.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what else to say about Miracle on 34th Street. I think we had a pretty damn good debate there about what it means to be Santa Claus.
Right. I thought I had one other thing that I wanted to bring up, but so in your perspective, who is the hero of this film?
Who is the hero of this film?
If there's any person that saves the day, who is it?
Doris.
Okay. Why is that?
And it's kind of piggybacking off of what you said before, is because I feel like Susan believing in Chris meant a lot. But that little tacked on bit at the end where Doris says that she also believes in Chris, as I think what really got him, is because it's one thing to make a child believe, but to make an adult believe is something different. Yeah, some people could definitely say it was John Payne because he helped win the court case. Some people could say it was Chris, but I think it was Doris because I believe Doris's little postscript is what gave Chris the feeling that no matter the outcome, he's happy.
Yeah. And you know what? I kind of ended up... I wanted to ask you this question while I was watching it and ended up arguing myself into kind of a tight spot for this question when I said that Chris doesn't really care about the outcome of the court case. What wins the court case, other than the judge needing to be reelected and his campaign manager, is Susie.
Mm-hmm.
Susie wants to write him a letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's her letter that makes the post office go, oh, we can send all these other letters to him at the courthouse. Which is true. The deciding factor of the court case. Without Susie's letter, Chris loses that court case.
It's true. That's a good point. Then I guess I would also agree that it is Susie.
But I think your point is right, piggybacking off of what I said, in that Chris doesn't really care what the outcome of the court case is. It certainly changes the tone of the film, but... Susie is the hero of the court case. It's her and Doris together believing that is the hero of Chris's story.
I feel like we could easily re-edit the ending of this film where Chris loses the court case, goes insane, runs off, grabs a gun, murders someone, and then it leads into the beginning of Silent Night, Deadly Night, where a kid sees Santa Claus murder his family, and then he becomes a killer Santa Claus.
I also wonder if there is a point where he goes crazy, breaks off, actually moves to the North Pole, builds a castle there and actually becomes Santa Claus.
But like the ruler, like an evil tyrant ruler, like robot Santa Claus.
With was it Neptunians?
Yes. Oh, that'd be great.
Santa has something very special in his sack for you two.
All right.
On that note.
So what have you been watching lately?
Another fine episode of the Shameless Picture Show podcast. And we got some holiday cheer in.
Hey, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Nick. Yeah, this is definitely our if it doesn't hit right on our anniversary, it's going to be nearby. This is our 2-year anniversary of the Shameless Picture Show. We've been doing this show for 2 years. It's kind of crazy, right?
Right.
So would this be the kickoff of season 3, or no? This would be the finale of season 2.
Yes. Yeah.
And then everything beyond that is season 3 onward.
Yay!
It's kind of crazy. Like, if you don't mind me just taking a second.
No, please.
To find out how many episodes we actually have. I'm gonna check SoundCloud.
Find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, iTunes.
We've done 47 episodes.
Wow. And we've recorded 49.
Yeah.
Correct? So we're pushing 50.
Pushing 50. Like, in another 2 years, we'll be at 100.
Yep. Yay.
Not bad for doing bi-weekly show.
Yeah. That means we got, on average, we just missed like 1 week per year.
Yeah, something like that.
Or one slotted episode per year.
Because I think with season 1, we did 27 episodes. We didn't do that many this year.
Right.
But, still pretty proud of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking up the mantle of the Shamelist and carrying it on as I deal with dad life and work life and everything else. It's great to be back and to knock out a couple more episodes, and I'll be back again. And hopefully things will calm down soon, and I can rejoin you.
Totally, and we'll figure things out. I'm just curious, as a listener now, as a fan of the show.
Yeah.
Do you have any episodes that you particularly liked, or guest hosts you particularly liked?
I loved. Let me pull up the SoundCloud list. What was the first one that you did without me?
That was Sizzling Summer Episodes with Ron Pertee.
No, yes, it was, but I was thinking of Duel.
Oh, Duel. That was a good one.
I really, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm really eager to listen to the High Plains Drifter episode.
Both of which have Kyle Arpke on them.
Yeah. When I listened to the Duel episode, I thought to myself, not only is this show in good hands, but I might be the thing that's holding it back.
Why did you think that?
I loved your guy. I mean, it's a bit of my natural self-deprecation, but I got a lot out of your guys' discussion. I thought you guys clipped together really well and hit that on levels that I wouldn't have, and I appreciated that.
Oh, I appreciate hearing that. One of my personal favorites that we did, I liked the Milwaukee Short Film Festival panel because I don't get to do panels very often.
I watched the video of that. I did not listen to the pod. I don't know if it's the exact
It's the same audio.
Okay.
But I also really liked the episode that me and Amanda did on Dirty Dancing.
Yeah. That one's on my shame list too.
Is it really?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Well, I guess I'd recommend it.
All right, I guess.
It's funny, I'm looking back through the episodes. Okay, there it was. I was like, I couldn't find the Sizzling Summer episodes listed, but there it is, clear as day. But no, I'm glad you've been listening. I'm glad to be keeping up the show. And like you said, we'll have you back on again soon. As I got to keep remembering to end the show with, you can find us pretty much everywhere. Oh, what's up?
No, I was.
I thought you were like
Vanna
your point.
White and you in.
You can find us pretty much anywhere podcasts are. You can find podcasts. Apple iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. We are still working on Spotify and a couple other places. But if there's a place that you listen to podcasts and you can't find us, let us know. As always, rate, review, subscribe, and you can find us on Instagram at Shameless Picture Show.
There we go.
Perfect. Well, Nick,
do it.
You have a good Christmas.
Hey, you too, man.